It's been a while since we got a legitimately great movie in the Predator franchise, but that's exactly what Prey is. The movie's producer, Dane DiLiegro, wants to try his clicky metal against blockbuster heroes like the Batman. In this video, we'll look at Dane's dream crossover battle, whether this crossover is possible, and what are the chances that he could win. DiLiegro and character effects artist Tom Woodruff were hypothesizing about how the Predator's encounter with Batman would play out. In a conversation with comicbook.com, Woodruff went as far to say that they would do a homemade shoot if they couldn't get any studio backing. Now, when you're talking about fighting Batman, the natural question is gonna be, which one? Most of the Batman are a little old for what DiLiegro is proposing. He ended up picking Christian Bale's Batman, saying that he liked that take on the character and his Batmobile tank. Ben Affleck was off the table because he and DiLiegro are both from Boston, so they'd end up just talking about stuff. Interestingly, they didn't consider the newest Batman on the block, Robert Pattinson. Maybe they don't consider Pattinson to be on the same level as Affleck or Bale, even though he had a way better movie than Affleck ever did. We think you already know the answer to this, but could Batman v Predator ever happen? Alas, no chance. The simple fact is that Predator, thanks to the acquisition of Fox, is now a Disney property. On the other hand, Batman and the rest of the DC Comics characters belong to Warner Brothers, and whoever's merged with them right now. Hollywood property rights and billions of dollars are on the line, so this crossover seems unlikely. If you're interested in seeing the Predator battle a Marvel character, that can be arranged. Over on the comic side of things, Marvel has been releasing a number of variant covers pitting characters against the Predator. Iron Man vs. Predator is the closest we'd get to the matchup of DiLiegro's dreams. That being said, we do have some good news. Batman and Predator actually have fought each other before. Way back in the 90s, DC Comics and Dark Horse actually published a trilogy of crossover battles between Batman and the Predator. The first one was simply titled Batman vs. Predator, and it had the superstar team of Dave Gibbons on writing duties and the Kubert brothers handling art. It starts with a bit of mystery as Batman traces a murder that seems to be linked to the mob to the Predator, while the Predator eats Batman's lunch the first time around, injuring him so badly that he's forced to spend a while recovering in the Batcave, while the Predator terrorizes Gotham City. The Bat eventually gets an upper hand by creating an exoskeleton suit for their rematch. Once the Predator is defeated, it commits seppuku and gives its body as reward to the man/bat that defeated it. In the sequel, subtitled Blood Match, Batman teams up with the Huntress with some backup from the Gotham City police to fight a Predator who's out for revenge. There's another mystery element to this sequel at first, with the heroes investigating the murder of several assassins who were trying to collect a bounty on the Bat. While Batman doesn't get sidelined this time around, a GCPD lieutenant has to sacrifice his life to beat the Predator. The third and final series was called Blood Ties. This series was written in the time when Tim Drake had recently donned the domino mask and short shorts of Robin, and Batman wanted to keep him out of his Predator battles at first. But Batman needs all the help he can get, as there are two Predators in Gotham this time. Fortunately, the dynamic duo are able to take down both Predators, and it turns out the reason why they came back this time is because they saw Batman and Robin as father and son warriors. But these are just comics from the 90s. How would DiLiegro's Predator actually fare against Christian Bale? Well, going off the Batman vs. Predator comics, it's clear that defeating the Predator requires brute strength and technology. As it happens, Bale's Batman was the most tech-savvy of the modern Batmen. The Predator's stealth technology won't do it much good against the sonar from the Dark Knight. For example, Bale doesn't even have to create a new exoskeleton suit. His normal bat fit has armor plating that can withstand the bladed attacks and brute force of the Predator. The advantage that the Predator would have is maybe in numbers. Bale's only sidekicks were Catwoman and Joseph Gordon-Levitt's character, both from The Dark Knight Rises, and they weren't even tremendously helpful against Bane. Two Predators would probably give Bale's Batman a tough time, and we don't see how he can take on three of them. Well, with prep time he could, but then any Batman can fight any character in the real and fictional multiverse if he just has prep time. And while we're at it, suppose Ben Affleck doesn't care that the Predator is from Boston. Ben Affleck doesn't have the gadgetry of Bale's Batman, but he has superior physical conditioning. With just a spot of training and a shard of kryptonite, he was able to nearly kill Superman and hold his own against Doomsday. Both of them are probably more dangerous than the Predator. Batfleck is also way more unhinged than any other Batman. Just looking at how he decimated the people who captured Martha should make the Predator pause before tangling with him. It would take all the stealth and finesse the Predator has to offer in order to take this Batman down. But we haven't gotten to the most important strength of Batfleck. If he ever feels like he's unable able to keep up with the Predator. He's the only Batman with the option to call the Justice League. Wonder Woman and Aquaman could descend upon the Predator with the forces of Themyscira and Atlantis, respectively. Cyborg can probably hack and manipulate the Predator's gear, and the Flash will harass it or worse. And of course, if Superman shows up, it's game over. Now, all that being said, Batfleck has one crucial weakness too. For the love of humanity, we'd better hope that the Predator's mom's name wasn't Martha. All things considered, Batman would be a serious challenge for the Predator, which is impressive considering Batman doesn't have any powers besides the power of being super rich. In other news, the Batman's fight against Warner Bros. Discovery isn't all that certain. Warner Bros. Have had a really tough time with their superhero movies, but the Batman was a truly unqualified success for the studio. There was a lot of buzz around the potential sequel, and the head of WB hopped on stage at Comic-Con to announce the sequel was coming. Matt Reeves confirmed the news, saying he was excited to dive back into the Batman universe. Unfortunately, a lot has happened since then. Namely, there was a big merger between Warner Bros. And Discovery, which then led to Discovery making a whole raft of changes at the company. According to a report this week by Variety, the future of the Batman franchise is up in the air. The sequel is listed as being in development, which means it doesn't have a green light yet. Discovery wants bigger and better superhero movies, so they don't have a reason to oppose this series. But that status means we could be waiting a good long while for the Batman 2. Up next, here are some of the other Batman projects that were under development but whose future is now up in the air. Before the Batman even came out, WB announced they were making a Gotham PD show for HBO Max, with Terrence Winter at the helm. When Winter departed the project though, the show pivoted into being about Arkham Asylum specifically. We don't know much about what this would entail, but Reeves talked about how this show would have a horror vibe to it. Another show that was bound for HBO Max is The Penguin, starring Colin Farrell's take on the character. We don't know much about the show, including whether it takes place before or after the Batman. It was full steam ahead at the studio before, but WB Discovery hasn't confirmed its future yet. Both of these projects sound really exciting, and you can bet that we'll be keeping our eye on them for any updates. Finally, speaking of DC movies and Predators, have they caught Ezra Miller yet? No, they haven't. However, Ezra has made a public apology for his actions recently and acknowledged that he needs help. Does that let them off the hook for all the things they've been up to in Hawaii and elsewhere? According to Tony Freinberg, president at the crisis management firm Edendale Strategies, Ezra's crisis is far from over. While other celebrities have been able to recover from rock bottom to become rock stars, Ezra has too many victims now. Many of them are minors. That's a hard thing for the public to forget, and even if Ezra avoids legal trouble, and even if The Flash comes out, this probably will be the end of their career. That's it for today's video. Have you watched Prey? If you haven't, make sure you do just that after you watch this video. While you're at it, let us know in the comments below who you think would win in a Batman v Predator punch-up and why. Whatever you do, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.